Well, good morning. It is day one of Open Ed Week 2025, and we are doing a panel sort of question and answer today with some of our colleagues in chemistry. And I'm going to go ahead and ask the first question, which is pretty simple. Would you both like to introduce yourselves and tell us where you teach and what you teach?
Sure. So I am Lisa Sharpe Elles, and I'm an associate professor at the University of Kansas. And I teach general chemistry 1 and 2, and also an introductory chemistry, which is a like GOB course for pre-nursing students primarily.
Hi everyone, my name is Sheba Kuruvilla. I teach at a community college called MSJC, which is Mount St. Jacinto College. We're in Riverside, California. I teach general chemistry and I teach another class called introductory chemistry. It's a prereq for general chemistry if you've not taken chemistry in high school or in college.
Great. And I'm Justin Shorb. I'm here with LibreTexts and run the Academy, although I am a chemistry professor by prior trade, and I've taught at all sorts of small and large schools across the country. Uh, and I'll ask the next question. So can you explain how each of you have engaged with the LibreText platform, including textbooks, the Adapt homework set, any other components that you've found to be useful in your classroom? And what were your goals that got you motivated to start those projects? And why don't we start with Sheba?
So I use two main things from LibreText. One is the actual textbook, and the second is the Adapt homework platform. So uh, previously, when I was working, we had a prescribed textbook, and we were using Macmillan or Pearson textbook, and pretty much every 2 years we would have a new edition, and the bookstore would then say we have to buy the new edition, and that would become the prescribed textbook. And that was pretty expensive for the students. So one of the main issues was the expense. I would tell my students they can use older edition, it's fine. But we were supposed to use the new edition. The other thing was during COVID, when we went online, we started to use the ebook with the homework platform. And for my students, it ended up being $100 for that, just each semester, ebook and the homework platform, and then lab was separate. So in the end, overall for general chemistry, intro chem, each student was spending $150 per semester. So that was one of the reasons to go to something which is not expensive and using the ebook that's actually free for the students. And due to COVID, they were already used to kind of reading online and reading ebooks. And then uh, again, the homework platform, because I'm in California, it's free for the students. So that was a big plus for me. So for my class, for my online introductory chemistry class, they do not have to pay anything for materials for this class. For my in-person class, we have a lab component, so they do have to get a lab coat and get a lab manual. But as far as the textbook goes, it's free for them. Josh, you're muted. I'm sorry, Justin, you're muted.
No, thank you. And for anyone who's listening from outside of California, the Adapt homework system is still very cheap. It's $15 a semester, regardless of how many classes a student takes. And Judith, welcome. I posted the question that we're in the middle of answering right now, and we're going to go to other panelists. Lisa?
So I started using LibreText really early on, mostly just as an editor and content harvester. So Delmar had asked me early on to help with working on putting together the book for the general organic and biochem classes and looking at that. And so I started kind of getting into it with just kind of looking at what was there and kind of figuring out how to edit and whatnot from that. And then because I was editing a book for the GOB type class, I decided to use that in my class as well. So I started using that for my class, and then gradually I've added it to my general chemistry class. So I use the LibreText textbooks, the OpenStax and the Gen Chem, and then the kind of a modified version that I've made for my general organic and biochem class. And then I also use the homework as well, the Adapt homework system for all three of my classes. And it's kind of been a slow process. One of the main reasons I started doing it was because I'd already been looking at it myself, but I realized that it was going to be a good resource. And once I got comfortable with the system, realized that I could use it for my classes and save money. And the big switch happened for my Gen Chem class when the my other colleagues were wanting to switch textbooks to a new one, and I just was not willing to try and like redo everything and then have to redo it again in a few years. And so it's kind of a way for me to make sure I can still do something that's kind of consistent for the students. I don't have to make a lot of changes every year, and there's no cost to it for my students. And so that way it doesn't, I can still do something different than the other classes and not affect how they go through all of our classes. So, yeah.
Great, thank you. I will take question number 3. You should both be able to share your screen for this one if you're interested in showcasing your efforts. So for example, if one of you wants to take the screen, show us your book or what your course looks like and adapt, anything like that that you think people would like to see, and sort of get an inside look, if you will, into how you're using LibreText, that would be great. And then if you could discuss a little bit about the impact that using LibreText has had on your instruction. So I don't know if one of you is ready to share, if you want to go first.
I can share some
Okay.
things. I have a small PowerPoint. For some reason, the internet was very slow today, so I just took screenshots of my Canvas and so on. So um, I use the textbook and I use the homework platform. So as I previously said, the ebook and the associated homework was about $100 per semester, and lab was separate. So for my textbooks, this is what I do. I search LibreText chemistry bookshelf, and I'm able to go to the bookshelves. And from that, if I click that, I go to the next page, which gives me pretty much all the courses that are available in chemistry. So there's introductory chemistry, general chemistry. Those are the ones I'm interested in. And if I click general chemistry, I can see the publisher version for all these courses. So for example, this one, Chemistry, the Central Science, this is by Pearson. And if I click that textbook, I am able to see various chapters in it. Now, all of these chapters are pretty much in the same order as it is in the publisher. So if anyone wants to transfer from using a publisher version to the ebook, it is much easier because I'm able to use the same PowerPoints and go on. So I'm able to use this ebook. Now, for the homework platform that I use, I actually use it for my general chemistry and introductory chemistry class. And this is what I have in my syllabus. Homework is worth 20% of the grade. So students are asked questions based on the reading for the week in Adapt. There are 3 attempts for each question. There's a 5% deduction for new attempt. Homework is accepted like until the last day of exam, and there is a 5% deduction after the new due date. So I like this so that there are multiple attempts on a question and students can attempt, and we can put how many attempts we want. We can put, for example, if it's a multiple choice question, there are 4 options. So but for other questions where they have to fill in or write a number, we can decide how many attempts we want. And I use the deduction feature. Some instructors don't do it. I also leave homework open till the end of the semester, but there is a 5% deduction each week. So it kind of puts the onus on the students that it's up to you. It's still open. You can do it, sort of a thing. So this is how I have it in my syllabus. So homework is worth 20% of the grade. And so this is how I have it set up in my Canvas. This is for my introductory chemistry class, which is a complete The assignments for the week are all due on Wednesday. So this assignment, which is homework 4, is an adapt assignment. When they click on it, it takes them to a page and we can put in whatever information we want to put in. Like if you are required to put in learning objectives or so on, you can put in. And I do put the grading and late work extension information for them. So I do let them know you can attempt questions for up to 3 times. There's a 5% decrease, and the assignment is available till the end of the semester, so you have no reason to not do it.
Thank you, Sheba. Lisa, would you like to share your
Sure.
screen?
Um, let's
Let
see.
me stop sharing. Is it still sharing?
Yes. Nope. And
There
now
we
it's
go.
not.
Okay. I wasn't quite prepared to show all my stuff, but I have so I instead of just using the books that are in LibreText, I have edited some of the textbooks that are available and kind of moved content around and mixed and matched things to match the way that I'd like to do them. And so my book can be found going through the campus bookshelves and to the University of Kansas. And I have a few here that I've used. Primarily, I use my Chem 110 or my Chem 130, 135 textbook. And these I have linked right into my Canvas page or into my Canvas module so students can come to the textbook through LibreText, or they can just go in and straight into Canvas and click on the module content. So basically, I have it set up where they have their readings assigned for each week, and they can come in here and read the material and then engage with it in that way. I also have I use the Adapt homework system as well. And this is kind of just a picture of the homepage for my Adapt homework for my Chem 110 class. I use pre-class questions that are just very introductory. They're more kind of like reading follow-up questions to see what they learned from their reading. And then I also have weekly homeworks. I don't have my homework or my adapt assignments don't count for as large of a percent for me, primarily because I know a lot of students they have a lot of other materials that they're working on. So it's about 10% for my class. But I use pre-class questions, assignments that I just set up with a few questions, weekly homeworks, and then I also have been trying out some of the learning tree assignments. I'm not sure if anybody else has talked about those before yet, but the learning tree assignments are kind of like adaptive assignments where students answer a question, and if they get it wrong, they can go into the tree and kind of do some more learning on that concept. And I use these, they're open throughout the semester. They're due right before each exam or assessment period. So it's kind of, they can use it as in whatever way they want. They can use it for learning the content, or they can use it for review on their own. So that's kind of the basic setup. All of my assignments are linked to Canvas as well. And students can just directly go to the assignment from Canvas, which is great. That's all kind of, for the setup. There was another part to that question where asking about impact. Oh, is that the next question? Okay. Next one, I'll wait.
Actually, both, as it turns out. Sorry, there was a little
That's okay.
a little duplication there. But yes, I guess I'll just go ahead and ask it, Justin, unless you want to jump in.
I
We
guess it was the impact on the Libraverse or impact on the instruction. Oh, and on my instruction.
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
basically what has your using LibreText in your courses, what impact has that had on your students, financially or otherwise? I don't know if there's any data or any testimonials. Like, do you hear directly from your students about how much they enjoy using LibreText versus, a $300 textbook? Or
I guess I can go since I've already rambled. I think in general, there's the cost savings. So the students in the other classes are paying per semester for their book. And so they don't have to do that. And so my classes are pretty cheap overall. They're just paying for their calculator and would be for their homework as well. Um, and then in general, I haven't heard a lot of students directly saying it to me, but I do know that before I made the switch, I had always would have students coming to me in like the second or third semester and say, okay, I just got my financial aid. I'm ready to get started doing this class. And that was already like we were, well into things the third week and they're already way far behind and it just had a lot of impact on them. And so I don't have that anymore. So it's kind of nothing that I see directly, but I don't have those students coming to me and saying, well, I haven't had access for 3 weeks and or even longer. And so that's been something that's really great. And I do still have students who tell me that they can't afford buying a calculator. So I do know that if they were also having to buy a textbook, then it would be a big hardship on them. So it's really, that's kind of just some of the testimonials, I guess, that I've had. So I think that it's very useful. I think a lot of I don't use everything to its fullest capacity. So I think that there's more that I could do with it as I start, as I get into it at every year. But I think that they're engaging with the material online and hopefully I can add more things as we move forward into the next years.
For my students also, like Lisa said, it was the same. The first couple of weeks, I would have students who don't have access to the textbook. And now, or, the homeworks, and I have to change the dates for them and so on. So now I don't have that anymore. From the get-go, students can do that. So that's a big advantage for the students and for me because no one is behind now.
Great.
How long have you been using it, Sheba? Can you remind me?
I've been using it since 2022.
Okay. And Lisa, how long did you said you were an early adopter, so that's
I can't remember. I've lost track. I think I started using it in like 2019 for my
okay.
pre-nursing class and then more recently for my Gen Chem class because we were trying to keep all of our sections the same textbook wise to make it fair. But once I was, if I'm using something free, it doesn't matter. So
Okay, thank you.
That's great. I think our next one kind of follows from that with asking for if you gave advice to yourself if you were starting right now, what recommendations would you have for other faculty who are interested in pursuing or following in your footsteps, basically. I guess we can start with, why don't we start with Lisa this time?
I guess for me, and it all depends on how, how organized you are, how you want to present your class. But for me, I think it's more start small. I think it's very overwhelming to kind of look at all the things that you can do and all the things that you can change and making your own book and making modifications. But for someone who is a brand new teacher, I think that's really hard. If you're experienced and you kind of know what you want and what you like, so that's a little bit easier. But the biggest thing I would say is kind of make a small change, one thing at a time. Start by using the OpenStax book, what's ready and available, and kind of use it as is, and then see what you like about it. And if you, want to cut out a chapter here or there, then you can make your own textbook. Do a remix of
When you
that
say
text.
that, did you started off with the OpenStax book that's on LibreTexts?
Yes, yeah. So I started with the OpenStax book in LibreText and then kind of modify from there. So for me, I have two other instructors that we kind of try and follow the same order. So I move the material around to match the textbook that they're using. So we can kind of do that. So, and then also, with anything, as you learn what you like to teach, what you want to teach, and what content's important, what's maybe not so important, you can start kind of cutting some of that out or changing it or adding. And, it's always kind of a work in progress. And I think that's the biggest benefit is, if you don't like a chapter, how it's written, you can find a different chapter and put it there instead or make some edits. And so I like that a lot. That's given me a lot of flexibility, but I couldn't have done it in my first couple years of teaching because I wasn't ready to do it. But after teaching for close to 15 years, that it's a little bit easier to kind of to have a different perspective. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the piece of advice I give people the most is you don't need to rewrite your whole textbook the first year you use it. You can use something right off the bookshelf, which I think that leads right into Sheba. You're currently working straight off of an existing textbook without any
Yes.
authoring, right?
Yes. So I'm
Yep,
aware that this
that's great.
can be done. Yeah, and I've gone to a few book workshops where, there's remixing and forking and everything. And I decided when I have time, I can do it. But for now, I'll just go with the book that's over there. And, even when I'm using the textbook, I, skip things, move around. So students were doing okay with it. So I'm also just going with that. But I'm mainly using it for the adapt, the homework feature. And I feel for that one, if anybody wants to do it, just like you're using an LTI with Pearson or Macmillan, it's not that complicated. So I think they can get started right away. So what I would suggest is to look at the public libraries that are available on Adapt, because as far as chemistry goes, for intro chemistry, there is one which is peer reviewed, all questions are good to go. And that exists for general chemistry 1 and 2 also. So if there are instructors, they can just upload them into their course and they're ready to go. And it's great that there is a huge pool of hundreds of questions available that we can choose from. So I think for adapt, you can go right from the start. But if you're thinking of making a textbook, I think that's a few years project that's going to take time.
Oh, well, starting off with a book that already exists is
Yeah.
that's, you're not alone in that. That's the majority of our users, I think, are using a book off of our bookshelf like they would anywhere else. In terms of support, just as a follow-up question, if you guys run into a roadblock, what have you found to be helpful to uh, getting over that and getting support or help?
So I was part of a group of 5 chemistry instructors in California, and we got together and made a library of questions specifically for ADAPT. And this was through a grant from the California Community College Senate. And then the 5 of us, we decided a chapter, made questions, then we peer reviewed it. And then eventually the Senate also peer reviewed it. So we used to ask each other. And of course, I used to be a regular last semester, 9 a.m.s at Delmar's office hours and ask him a lot of questions. So I think like for about a year, I would sometimes go twice a week. So that was very helpful to, get an answer immediately to a question. Or if I have a student who has issues with adapt, I had a lot of students, they were somehow able to log into adapt with 2 different emails and so on. So I think at my college right now, I'm the only person who is using adapt. So there is nobody else using it. So just coming to office hours, I was able to meet other instructors and see what questions they had. And sometimes we were able to help each other out. So my main support was the 5 instructors from different colleges in California and the office hours.
Great.
For me, I've just kind of figured it out as I've gone, kind of just trying things and attending different sessions like this and others. And then also, I've always kind of emailed Delmar, but I don't recommend you doing that, but and attended office hours. So kind of just figuring things out as I go, trying things. I've even tried a little bit of writing questions on Adapt and coding, but that is not my jam, but mostly just kind of looking at other questions and seeing how they're written and modify it from there. So yeah, mostly kind of learning just by experience and trying things. So if you noticed on my page, I had a few of the same book on my bookshelf or in my class content, and they're kind of just different modifications that I have of the same thing, but I've been kind of learning how to figure it all out. So at some point I'll have to
Yeah,
remake
and
this.
I'll follow up for anyone who is curious. We have added this little button in the bottom right corner of every web page, which you can click on, and that will send an email to our whole team with a support ticket. So if you ever do have a question on anything, whatever page you're on, that will send us a ticket, which is helpful because if one of us is teaching a class, for instance, or is away for a day, then one of the other of us will step in and help out. So that's another way to circumvent the email overload. Great. Do you want me to just do the last one, Jennifer, since I'm already talking? Um, one second, I'm just bringing it up. I'm just gonna, oh, it's not quite the last one. throw it in the chat. How would you like to see LibreTexts evolve in the next 5 years? And then follow that up with what scope, impact, technology would you like to have access to help you in your classes? And we can start with Sheba, as your microphone's off.
So I would like for, I know when it comes to chemistry, most places are general chemistry. That's what the starting point is. But I have an introductory chemistry class and we have labs for that also. So right now the labs are in Canvas, but I would like to maybe see a way for the labs to be on Adapt, kind of like a multi-part question thing where and algorithmic, so students, everybody gets a different question. So that is something um, I could, I would love that to be in Adapt. So the students then have everything in Adapt. And I know Delmar was saying he's working on the iClicker and it's available. I've not used it, but do you know if it's available for instructors right now?
I think Delmar is using it in his class this semester, if I remember correctly. Um, and then
Yes, he is.
I actually worked at a online laboratory. I've worked with online laboratory stuff in the past, so that's my project this summer is to work on that, to build out a little online laboratory materials.
That'll be great
Great,
because
good.
yeah,
I'm glad to see things are coming along. Yeah, that's one of the benefits that I've often touted, especially for those of people that are outside of California where it's not free for Adapt. If you're taking a lab, chemistry is lab and lecture, oftentimes that would require two different softwares. If you wanted to do some homework, then it would be two different purchases that students would have to do. But since Adapt is a one-time fee per student per semester, regardless of courses, they don't get charged any extra for having lab and lecture within Adapt. So we're definitely trying to leverage that to help students even more.
yeah,
Lisa?
I remember my students during COVID, they would come to
Or-
Canvas and then they have to go to LabFlow. We were using LabFlow, so that's a different system. And that was not through LTI. And then Macmillan, which was through LTI. So the students were very confused, like, and that was also online to kind of, go to different spots for the same class, like log in 3 times.
Yeah.
So I guess
Lisa?
one of the things, just in general, expanding questions as we keep going, getting more and more variety of questions. And I love that there's the new algorithmic option for a lot of the questions that I've been using. But I think one of the big things that I would like to see is a place where students can, if they're working on a question, there's something wrong, like technical issue or whatnot, that they can put in a like, there's something wrong with this question. I think the answer is wrong, or somewhere where I could do that too. So it's not just going to Delmar every time or waiting for office hours. So because I can't always edit the questions while the assignments are open. So that would be one thing that would be great to see. I'd also like to see a lot more, we have such a variety of different textbooks available and all the faculty have their own textbooks, but I'd love to see some more of the figures and videos and things in what we do have online available, kind of get some upgrades with some of those, which I know is a lot because I've done a little bit of that for the book that I helped with editing, but that would be something that would be really great to have some better quality images to go with all that. So, yeah.
So Lisa, I don't know how, but I have had students who, when in Adapt, they thought a question was wrong or there was some issue. They were able to send me an email, and that email came from Adapt saying this student had a question about something.
I've turned that off because I have close to 600 students, so there's no way I'm asking for that. So it'd be nice if we could go straight to Adapt rather than to me first. So yeah. But I hear about
Yeah,
it even
we do
without
get
that.
some every once in a while. Students find their way to that little blue question mark as well, and we'll get students asking us questions.
Okay.
And just for anyone who happens to be interested, and you guys, we are working on building some other tools for helping students out, possibly using some sort of a chat bot of some sort to help, and keep your ear to the newsletter because
Yeah.
there'll be things coming out in the next few months for sure, as we develop those tools, which is exciting. Since you guys are both chemists, were you aware that we just introduced a molecule viewer as well for Adapt? So like from MolView, the little drag and drop draw structures. So that's now an option in Adapt as well. So it doesn't address the adding extra images to textbooks, but at least you can do that for chemistry homework.
Was that added to questions that already
Yeah.
exist, or are they okay? Cool.
Right now, it's part of the authoring suite.
Oh, okay.
So you can add new questions, and we do have people that are starting to add new questions, but I don't think we have many for that have been designed yet. But I can say that in the next week or two, I'll be meeting with another cohort of people from California who are organic chemists who are looking to build a QBank for organic chemistry questions in Adapt. So I imagine that they'll want to build some structure questions and have those peer reviewed and just similar to the group that you were part of, Sheba. But that's also through the California Senate as well.
That reminds me of another
Great.
question or request. Is that when I look for questions in Adapt, it would be really nice to be able to search by looking in the comments, then we have the long list of all the comments questions that are available. It'd be nice to have that categorized by subject. So like chemistry could all be in one section. Because right now it's, hard to find sometimes. Like I can find OpenStax and then I have to search for the other one. So if those are all kind of
Yeah, that's
organized.
I mean, obviously questions sometimes are hard to automatically tag because sometimes it's hard from the text to say, oh, this is an equilibrium question, even though it doesn't say the word equilibrium anywhere in it.
Well,
But
not
that
even
might be
just within the
something that we've
question,
been
just
starting to do.
in the drop down menu, like the search menu, not just the search questions, because I know you can do the
Okay,
tag
yeah.
there, but just in that drop down menu when you're looking at courses or looking at all the like open available resources, there's this long list and it ranges from chemistry
Yeah.
to Spanish to nursing, whatever. So somewhere like if those could be maybe organized in a way, that would be nice. But yeah, I know there's the
That's a
tags
good
are a little
suggestion. We'll
yeah.
pass that along. Yeah, we just started adding tools to help people to automatically add tags to textbook pages, but that's a lot easier to do because those usually use the words that you would expect to be there, but
Yeah.
it's more difficult for that. But I agree, and we'll pass that along to our Adapt
Just from a beginner perspective,
programmer as well.
it's very overwhelming, like when you look at that list of things.
Yeah,
Like, how do I find what I want?
my typical suggestion is if you started off like if you say you started off with like a version of OpenStax books, we have a library that is OpenStax book questions, so then you could start there at least and go with those. But
Yeah.
great, exciting. Any final thoughts from you two? What's about? You've done some good job with talking about recommendations for the future and things that you're hoping to do. Maybe I'll ask with one final thing since you mentioned this, Lisa. Is there one thing you're planning on changing before the next time you teach this class?
Oh gosh, I feel like I change everything every time. I I've been trying really hard to do a better job of keeping track of the questions that I have in Adapt, just kind of make sure I have the content covered and whatnot. And so I've been trying to keep a separate spreadsheet with all my questions and what chapter they match and whatnot to kind of keep track. Because like I said, there's a lot of information and it's overwhelming. So yeah, I think that's one thing. And I've said for a long time, but I haven't done it, is to add some of the worksheets that I do into LibreText and have them available there as well for students, but that hasn't happened yet. So maybe that'll be the next time.
Great. Sheep, any other final thoughts or what your short-term goals are for the next time? Oh, you're muted.
I'm happy with Adapt. I've been using it since 2022, and there was some issues and things happened, but now I have my libraries, I have my questions, so I'm not doing anything with it, but there are other things in my class I have to do, like subtitle some of my lecture videos, things like that, so make it more accessible. So I have some other things to do.
Maybe some clicker questions, right?
Yes, I do want to add clicker questions. So I've been asking Delmar about it, but he told me it's ready, but not quite. I'm using it in my class. So that is, I guess, short term, probably next semester to use the clicker questions.
Sounds great. I'll definitely bring that up with them too. I guess we could open it up to anyone else here who wants to ask any questions of our panelists. And that's really mostly Judith, if you have any questions or thoughts. Well, on that note, I might just give one final little plug for the LibreTexts Academy before we thank our speakers. Um, there is a QR code on the screen if you see it. I think, Jennifer, if you can just throw that link in the chat as well. It just launched in January, and what the point of LibreTexts is to kind of lower the hurdle of on-ramping people into LibreTexts. As Sheba said, our adapt system is not that much more complicated than most LMSs, but since we're very flexible, we have a lot of different features. It can look daunting at first, and it's not laid out the way that you're normally used to seeing, but it is very flexible. And if you're looking to get started in authoring a textbook, anything like that, we have some tools there. One thing that nobody did bring up is we do have a YouTube channel with all of our webinars recorded. These ones will be up there. And we offer free monthly webinars. January's was on introduction to all the tools we have and signing up. And last in February, we gave a workshop on how to author a textbook from scratch, basically, how to get started. And then March's webinar on the 21st will be on remixing textbooks, so beginning to customize textbooks for your own classes. So really getting into what Lisa has been saying she's been doing for a while. And keep an eye out for the newsletter for other things. With that, I want to thank Lisa and Sheba for coming today. We really appreciate you showing up and sharing your stories.
Yes, thank
With
you
that, I
both.
guess
Thank
we
you.
can.
I'll stop the recording.
Yeah.